Happy New Year and welcome to FRCMedia News for Thursday, January 4th, 2018. I'm Keith Tebow. Hope you had a very festive New Year's Day, and we also hope you're being safe as we're continuing to fester through this first major winter storm of 2018. On tonight's broadcast, we'll provide you highlights of the Fall River inaugural ceremony which took place this week. We look ahead to the administration's plans to eliminate the use of the purple trash bags in Fall River and give you local feedback on the future of offshore wind power as it potentially relates to the greater Fall River area. But first, let's check out the news headlines of the week. We bring in Will Richmond, the digital news editor of the Herald News. Will, Happy New Year. Welcome.
Happy New Year, Keith. Glad to be back.
Thanks. All rested and ready to go. Let's get right into it. The inaugural ceremonies for city elected officials was held on Tuesday of this week. Mayor Correa being inaugurated for a second term. And in his inaugural speech, Will, he tended to speak a lot about cooperation, working with not only city councilors, but those in the city to move Fall River forward. This is something that we heard before with the mayor last year during his State of the City address. And looks like he wants to continue that theme, even though some will say he hasn't been too cooperative with city officials.
Yeah, that certainly seemed to be the predominant theme in the mayor's inaugural speech. Given the last 2 years and the previous term where it seemed that the city council and the mayor's office were butting heads pretty regularly, there was that sort of fraction of city councilors that were not supportive of the mayor's initiatives. It had that feeling of, we need to both be on the same page to move the city forward. The mayor talked about a lot of his initiatives that he'd like to see carried over from the first term to be completed, such as the streetscapes project, economic development, and he's going to need the city council's cooperation in some of these cases. So there was certainly that theme of cooperation. I think it was certainly a message to the city council. We'll see where it goes in 2018.
Normally the inauguration event doesn't usually make a lot of news. It's mainly just, an opportunity for the city as a renewal of new blood on the city council, school committee, and potentially in the mayor's office. But there was a little bit of news on the city council side, as part of the ceremony is the selection of a new city council president. City Council President Sean Kadim apparently took his name out of the running late last week, early this week, and it came down to a vote. The first vote was split between former City Council President Joe Camara and second-term President Cliff Ponte. They each had 4 votes. City Councilor Steve Camara voted for himself, and then when they took a second vote, City Councilor Leo Pelletier switched his vote from Councilor Camara to Councilor Ponte, making Cliff Ponte the City Council President. He's also the youngest member of the council. How did this all come about? I know there had been talk that potentially maybe Joe Camara could have been the new president. I guess everything sort of took place over the last few days.
Yeah, it seemed, even as we were talking with some of the incoming city councilors in doing stories about how they were preparing for their first term on the council or in their return to the council, many of them were indicating that Joe Camara would be the president. So it seems that there was some flip-flopping that took place in the final week between Christmas and New Year's leading up to the inauguration. And our City Hall reporter, Joe Good, was even hearing that the votes were being finalized right up into the night on New Year's Day itself. So hours before the inauguration ceremonies were going to be taking place. It seemed that they were still jockeying, but it was coming down to either Cliff Ponte or Joe Camara, and Steve Camara wouldn't move off of himself for a selection, so it came down to Leo making that sort of switch, and in the end, he went in the direction of Cliff.
Now, he probably thought, Councilor Pelletier probably thought that if he continued with supporting Councilor Joe Camara, that they would probably continue to be in a stalemate. I think he mentioned that in the article in the paper about the fact that, he wanted this to move forward, and so he decided, and he actually, I believe, told Joe Camara ahead of time that if there was a deadlock, that he would be switching his vote, knowing that the council wouldn't get anywhere, correct?
Correct. So he certainly made it clear if it continued, he wasn't going to let that vote go on, and he stuck to his word in the end on that process.
So, of course, with the city council, we had 6 incumbents who were reelected, 2 old faces coming back on the council in Councilor Pelletier and Councilor Brad Kilby, and the only new face on the council is Derek Viveris, and we'll see how that dynamic of what really is now continues to be sort of a 5-4 city council, how that will play into governing the city of Fall River coming up when they first hold their first meeting. The school committee side, there were 5 of the 6 school committee members inaugurated. School committee member-elect Joseph Martin's not on hand for the ceremony this week. 2 new members joined the committee in Joshua Hetzler and Thomas Corey. And there's still some news to be made there, Will, as the school committee still needs to vote on a vice chair, if you will, with the mayor being chair of the school committee. Mark Costa has been vice chair for quite some time. Is he the inside runner, if you will, in terms of getting reelected to that position?
Yeah, he appears to be the front runner to hold on to it. Between himself as a long-standing member and Joe Martins, it doesn't seem Joe has ever tried to wrestle that control away from him. And, with a lot of new faces on the board, I imagine they'll look for some stability moving forward. Mark has indicated to us that he believes he has the votes in place to remain as the vice chairman. So I would expect that to be the case when they meet next week for their first meeting of the new term.
Even though this inauguration is a time of renewal and enthusiasm, again, there still appears to be a little bit of strife, if you will, within city government. We'll have to see how that plays out as the year goes by. Other news in terms of sort of a follow-up of the election, the Herald News reporting in an article on Wednesday online that the campaign finance filing of Mayor Correa shows that he spent over $40,000 on attorneys in its latest filing. Talk about how that came about.
Sure. So he, in his filing that closed out 2017, there were two payments listed to separate law firms. One of them we've reported on before. It was a Providence law firm that Correa had hired back in 2014, and there had been some dispute as to whether or not he owed them money. And the law firm had filed a civil case against him. It appears Correa has made a payment, and that case may be taken care of at this point. And we reported it a couple months back prior to the election. At that point, the case had been dismissed out of civil court, so there may have been an agreement in place regarding payment there. And then the second payment, the larger of the two, is for the law firm that Correa has said he's hired since the allegations regarding a potential FBI and HUD investigation have been revealed. So it may have to do with that. The mayor would not comment on any specifics of the payments. So, this is a matter of kind of looking at 2 and 2 and seeing how they add up here. But it is that law firm that he has noted in the past that he's hired for those purposes. So it would seem that a lot of campaign donations, including much of what he may have received at his Christmas party in December, have went to cover some law expenses in the past year.
And something to be known is the article that's in the paper just mentions that he spent this money. It's not illegal for him to do so. I mean, you can use campaign funds for attorneys and legal services affiliated with a campaign. But it was just interesting to see that was that amount of money, over $40,000, spent during this last part of 2017. Finally, Will, what I want to bring up, we've talked a lot about the South Coast Marketplace in the far south end of Fall River, bringing economic development and activity to that area. Well, there is a store right across the street, the former Shaw's Supermarket. Looks like the building will be getting a new tenant.
Yeah, so it was confirmed this week that the owners of Job Lot have purchased the former Shaw site off of Cannon Boulevard. So they'll be moving the existing store that they have just up the street down here, offer them more space. They should also be up in the number of hires in the location as well. So it should add a couple of jobs in the city as well. And then there's also some additional space in that plaza as well that will likely be leased out moving forward. So while it's good news for that vacant lot, we'll see what happens to the former plaza, which also included the Bennies that closed up in
Right.
the last month or so. So, we've got some businesses moving around, expanding a little, creating a couple of jobs, but it does come with some losses in the city as well.
Absolutely, in terms of space in that old location. All right, Will, what's coming up over the next few days?
Sure, as we celebrate our new elected officials coming into place in Fall River, we're taking a look at some of the reasons why there's not a great number of women that have been elected this past year. A number ran. There was only one elected in Pamela Liberty LeBeau, who actually went on to become the council vice president this week. So we kind of take a look at what may have been the reasons behind that.
All right, sounds good, Will. We'll talk next week. Take care.
All right, have a good weekend, Keith.
We'll have more FRC Media News right after this.
Here are some job descriptions on the latest hot jobs list from the Fall River Career Center. Armed Security Officer. Internal Security Associates, LLC, a private professional security firm, is seeking a full-time, highly qualified current and/or former military, law enforcement, armed security officer to work in the Fall River area. Job number 10058521. Administrative Assistant. Bay Cove Human Services, a mental health services agency, is in need of a part-time administrative assistant to support the management staff with administrative duties, as well as schedule appointments to urgent care adults. Job number 10050466. Assistant Property Manager. Halkeen Management, located at 130 Canal Street, is looking for a full-time assistant property manager to assist the property manager with administrative duties, including rent collections and inspections. Job number 10059814. Primacare, located at 277 Pleasant Street, is looking to fulfill the following full and part-time positions. Medical Scheduler, job number 10059717. Ultrasound Technician, job number 10059714. Genesis Healthcare is looking to fulfill the following full-time positions. Certified Nursing Assistant, job number 10058351. Physical Therapist, job number 10048963. For more information on these or other positions, visit FRCmedianews.org or call the Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
Welcome back. As we mentioned earlier, Fall River Mayor Jazio Correa gave his second inaugural speech at BMC Durfee High School this week. In the auditorium, packed with community, legislative leaders, and the general public, Mayor Correa looked back on his first 2 years of his administration and the progress he promises to make to move the city forward.
24 months ago, I had the honor and privilege to stand on this very stage and take the oath of office. On that morning, the city of Fall River faced many challenges that had to be met with innovation, hard work, and cooperation. We were a city that could not exceed net school spending, a city that had drained its stabilization account, a city that asked its public safety officials and personnel to do more with less. 24 months later, we are a very different city. We did not overcome every single challenge, but we have made progress. And my message today and every day is that through cooperation, the results and progress that you have seen the last 2 years will continue.
9 city councilors were also sworn into office following the inauguration ceremony. A vote was also taken on who would serve as council president. As we mentioned before, initially the vote was split between councilors Cliff Ponte and Joseph Camara, while City Councilor Stephen Camara had voted for himself. On the second round of voting, Councilor Leo Pelletier switched his vote from Joe Camara to Ponte, giving the council's youngest member the gavel.
As council president, I'm looking forward to what lies ahead and how this council will be able to work in collaboration with your administration, but still hold you accountable in being net checks and balances. Folks behind me are folks who are being sworn in to you today, to serve you. But the hardworking men and women in this community are going to get a good group, both on the City Council and the school committee. Everyone has seen the faces, they've heard the hopes, they've listened to the campaign ideas and promises, and each one of us has been motivated by those in the city who are our constituents. Those who deeply want to see the city rise and be one of the greatest and best cities in this Commonwealth.
After the ceremony, we spoke with Councilor Ponte about the vote for president and his plans for the new position.
Today's the day about coming together as a council. I'm hoping that my colleagues, I got the unanimous support at the end, and I'm grateful for that. But this is over and done with now. Now it's time to get to the work of the people.
We also spoke with first-time Councilor Derek Viveras, and he explained his vote for council president.
I voted for Joe Camara.
And why was that?
I think Joe represents stability. He's been a long-time councilor. He's did a good job as president in the past. And I think with some younger councilors, a lot of us, I'm in my first term, a lot of going into the second full term, and I thought that kind of experience would be good for us.
During the inaugural speech, Mayor Correa again announced his plans to eliminate the purple trash bags as a means of trash disposal at some time this year. We caught up with City Administrator Kathy Ann Viveras, who spoke on the topic.
Well, the expectation that the mayor has is that we would find a way to address our trash disposal and our recyclables disposal in a more cost-effective way, so we wouldn't need the revenues from the purple bags in order to achieve that.
But you'll need revenues from somewhere.
True, but if we're able to reduce the expense, then we can manage to live with fewer resources and still get the trash accomplished. So the plan is to, within the trash services, to try to lower our expenses so we can relieve our dependence on the revenue from the purple bags.
We'll have more FRC Media News right after this.
This week on Hot Dogs and Cool Cats, we have Wally. He's a one-year-old dachshund. He's a high-energy, very sweet boy. He just wants attention and love. But if you give him some treats, that's the way to his heart. He loves belly rubs. He loves going on walks, especially when we put him in the large runs. And he gets time to run around and play like a big boy. He came to us because he was a stray dog. He was running in the middle of traffic and someone got out and was nice enough to pick him up and brought him here. Poor boy was so scared in the large runs about all the big dogs yelling at him, but now he's a champ. Like I said, I'm pretty sure he thinks he's 78 pounds when he's really 13. So, if you'd like to meet Wally or any of our other dogs, we have a variety of them. Feel free to come down to Forever Paws Animal Shelter, located at 300 Lovewood Ave. Open every day 11 to 4, besides for Wednesdays. So this week on Hot Dogs and Cool Cats, we have Nikira. She's the sweetest little American Staffordshire you'll ever meet. She's around a year old. This poor baby came in as a stray dog, but she is the sweetest little thing ever. This is all she wants to do. She just wants to lay in your lap, and she just wants to be cuddled. She wants to be loved. She can be high energy. Today's a little bit of a low energy day for her, but she also knows when it's time to settle down and cuddle on the couch. She'd be good in a home that has older kids only because when she does have some high energy, she can knock them over. So I want to say about 5+. So if you'd like to meet this sweet little girl, we're open every day 11 to 4. Besides for Wednesdays, we're located at 300 Lovewood Ave, right at the end of the street. So come and meet her.
Massachusetts State Senator Michael Rodrigues announced recently that the nearby Brayton Point power plant in Somerset will soon be sold to potentially be developed to supplement the state's plans to construct offshore wind turbines. Shortly after that announcement, Bristol Community College President Dr. Laura Douglas, a recent guest on FRC Media's Voices on the Hill program, explained the importance of higher education and the need for educator workers in the alternative energy field.
One of the interesting statistics to know is that right now about 45% of all jobs in Massachusetts require more than a high school diploma but less than a 4-year degree. That's what we call a mid-skills job. But in 2020, which is just less than 2 years away, that number escalates to 72% of all jobs in Massachusetts. So that really is an indicator. And it doesn't have to be a full associate's degree or a full bachelor's degree. It might be a specialized certificate. So you had mentioned about offshore wind. So some of the things that we're doing to position for this explosion of an industry is we have a certificate that will train for offshore wind technicians, and that we also then have a 2-year degree that focuses on wind power, which is much more of an engineering base, because you need things like hydraulics and all that. So that type of a degree as well. But it will also require logisticians, supply chain experts, all of these other jobs that will also become a part of the offshore wind industry.
That'll do it for this edition of FRC Media News. You can watch FRC Media News Thursday and Friday at 6 p.m. and online 24/7 at frcmedianews.org. For all of us here at FRC Media News, I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great week. We'll see you next Thursday.